Hello, and thank you for watching Guitar How-Tos. This guitar had a buzz on the 4th fret of the D string. We are looking at the 5th fret at the moment because usually if you do have a buzz, it might be because there's a high fret, and typically that fret is the next fret that's closest to the bridge. I've already filed this fret down a little bit, and you can see, hopefully you can see the slight flat top it now has compared to, let's say, this fret. So now I'm going to make a tool I can use for crowning this fret and rounding it off. What I have here is a piece of scrap wood that happens to fit nicely between these frets, meaning that the 20th fret is in the center here, and I'm going to use the 20th fret as a template. Here I have a piece of 320 wet dry sandpaper. Picked this up at an automotive supply outlet, and I've cut a piece out, and I'm going to tape this piece right where you see it. Okay, the paper's taped down. I'm going to take the clean side of this particular piece of scrap wood. I'm not going to use this end because of the chips in the wood. And nice to use this area of the guitar neck, again, because this piece of wood happens to fit nicely between here. Now, what I'm going to do is rub this back and forth and make a groove in the bottom of this piece of wood. So as I keep rubbing back and forth, we're going to get a nice looking groove here. Now, in hindsight, I probably should have used something stronger than 320 grit. I may change that. Let's see how far I can go with this grit paper. It's coming along. Getting closer. Let's just keep going. The 320 piece of sandpaper is pretty worn out, so I'm going to switch it out and I'm going to put 180 on. Okay, I have a 180 grit piece of paper on here, and I'm going to continue. Another change of paper, more 420 grit. So how do you know when you're done? Well, what'll happen is the block of wood, see these indentations here? It's done by the block of wood. So I'm pretty much finished here. This is going to, the shoulders, I'm calling that the shoulder, not the shoulder of this piece of wood next to the track is going to start touching the fretboard. So you're done. Let's get to the fret now. A close-up of what it looks like when it's finished. You see the groove is pretty shallow. You've noticed I've covered the pickup here. You could also do the rear one if you want to. I don't think it's necessary, and this is holding the strings down. Now what you'll notice is I put tape down first so the strings don't scratch the pickup cover. Well, what we're going to do is put some 320 grit paper on the block and then start to go back and forth on the fret. Here's what the block looks like. Cut out a piece of 320, draped it over the edges here and taped it down. Very, very simple. The groove, of course, is underneath here. Now let's go over to the 5th fret and get to work. The first thing I want to do is press down so the fret gets seated in that groove. Press that down. Okay, now we're ready to go back and forth here. Here's the before picture. You see how it flattens out right here? Down to right about over here? So what it looks like after about, I don't know, 10 or 15 back and forth motions, and light pressure, by the way. Always be patient when you're working on a guitar. This kind of work requires a lot of patience. It's a good idea to put 2 pieces of tape on each side here, because the sandpaper can rub this off. You certainly don't want to go into your fretboard with sandpaper. Sorry for the shaking here. We're going to polish this up. You always want to go less than more, obviously, because you don't want to wind up overcorrecting this, because now you have another, and then you have another problem. So let's polish this up. We're going to change the sandpaper, and we'll go to a finer grit. Okay, I switched over to a 2000 grit sponge, also found at the automotive department. And here is what I'm going to call it a day on this fret. Here is I'm going to call it the finished product. I don't see any flat spot there. Hopefully you don't either. Now, what I did do on here is I did angle off camera. I did angle this and went this way with it. Pardon me, let me get the camera under here. And I did that the same way on the other side and made a rounding motion with it, as well as going back and forth here. So there's a couple more buzzes on this guitar neck. I'm going to take care of those. Hope this helps you out, and happy guitar playing.